So let me tell you the story about this set that we bought. First of all, to tell you that I got it from compensation money from a big company, which I'm not allowed to talk about because I've got the compensation money. And as you would have seen, we had these old sofas, and when we had no money, I did my best to cover them and make them look good, or at least usable and not an embarrassment. So this is the arm of the armchair. I've taken all the covers off that I did. I've still got the cushions that I can use elsewhere. This is the other arm of the armchair. And this is the sofa. The actual seat is broken. You know how it can be fixed. But look, the state of it there. It's stained. It's got lots of stains. It's faded. Yes, it was covered, but it wasn't covered properly. And all the front, this is all deterioration from the sun, which is why I don't want material furniture in here. We do have the winter lounge with a sofa. Another blue one, and this is in better condition because it's always been in here, and that's an old curtain. That's an old curtain, and we've got car rugs over the arms. So, but that is comfortable. So if we want a nice comfy sofa, we sit here in our winter lounge. And this is the state of why we're getting rid of it. We ummed before about keeping it. This is actually 4 seats. You can fit comfortably 4 people on here. It's much wider than it looks. It's not a 2-seater, it's a 4-seater. And this is the reason we didn't really want to get rid of it, because Mike can lay the full length of this comfortably, and he didn't want it to go. As awful as it was, but as I say, I covered it with a kind of bit of material. I was going to say a throw. It wasn't even a throw, it was a bit of material. And I hung it over the edge. As I say, it's very long, so it didn't go over properly, but I put a clip in so you can see what we did. And he didn't want to let it go. But when we saw the furniture I've just showed you, he said, it's time to say a final goodbye. This has got to go. So he's going to break these up. He's going to use all the foam again. So he will save all the foam. I don't know if there's wood there he can save as well. But this is final goodbye. It was such a good suite. You've been a great comfort. And so it's finally time to say goodbye. Well, we went into Super Home Centre and you saw the previous videos of what we got in there. And as we walked in, this was in a small area in the foyer with 2 or 3 other similar sets to this. I want to call them sun lounge sets or conservatory sets. And I always sit in them and play, go, oh, I'd like this and I'd like this. And you see the cats all coming in now because I'm talking. And there was a few there and I sit in them and they look nice, but they're very expensive. I'm pretty sure in your countries you see many different ones and they're all different prices. Most of them, in my opinion, quite expensive. And I said to Mike a long time ago when our sofas and armchair was in a bad state, do you know what? Because we're in the sun lounge and we have the big window here and all the sun comes in constantly, whatever fabric we use in this room will deteriorate rapidly. So I said we would be better off with, they do wooden ones as well, but I've got a rocking chair in the corner over there and the varnish and the wood on there has discoloured. So I wouldn't get wood. I would never buy cane or anything similar to that because that breaks up. And I said to him, if I was going to ever get anything in here again, it would not be a typical sofa material, that kind of thing. And then the cheapest one there, I think, was about €249, which to some of you that might be affordable, but even with the compensation money, I was like, I don't know. And then this one, on the black table here, was a sign, and it said €79 something, just over €79. And I said, that's got to be just for the table. And I picked the thing up and it said set, and it had a code number. And I said to him, I'll buy it for that. And it's 2 armchairs and the 2-seater sofa and a lovely table. I actually love the table. And then I said to him, I think the black table here belongs to another set. There was one other black set different to this there, and that had a very small, like a square coffee table, and it looked a bit cheap. It looked a bit cheap. And I said, I think in the display, I love the table. And I said, I think the table is the wrong table with it. And he said, yes, I agree. These don't look expensive or amazing. They're practical. We have this material in garden chairs outside, and they've lasted for years and years. So I said to him, it's not that practical. And I said, but they don't look very comfy. And because it's slightly bucketed, they are actually extremely comfy. And Mike said before he sat on it, well, we could always put cushions on. And I got a cushion off of another display and sat on it, but I think it's the angle of the chair. It made it actually very uncomfortable. So I said, no, these are nice. And we sat in all the other ones, and do you know what? This was by far the comfiest of all of them. And there were some €900 and 1,000 something euros, and this was the most comfy. Now I looked at the arms, I thought, well, they don't look very comfy. And do you know what? They are. You've got to sit in it to appreciate. So I said, for €79, whatever, I'm going to get that. And I said, I wonder, how can that be so cheap when there's never been anything under €200 or so? And I said, I think it's possibly because it's the last one left. And you've got to have this one, which is the display one. So he went and got a man, and another lady came and started looking. So I just picked up the price thing on the table, and I was like, And if she said anything, I'd say, oh, it's the last one, someone's just dealing with us. Because it wasn't going to go to everyone else at that price. So Mike went off and got someone, and one of the workers came over, and he said, yes, this is the one. And he went and took it to like the inquiries desk. And the lady there, now they were speaking Greek. And as you know, I'm fairly fluent in Greek, but because me and Mike were talking English all the time, they assumed we were English speaking. Now the man who was dealing with us, he was saying in Greek, the lady said, no, tell them it's a mistake. The price is a mistake. All in Greek, and I'm listening, and I'm saying, Mike knows I'm listening, and he says, no, it says that price, we have to sell it to them. And she's saying about, well, tell them the barcode isn't for that, it's for something else. And this went on several bits of conversation where the lady's trying to get him to say, we can't have it, it's a mistake. She kept saying lathos, and lathos means like mistake. So this went on several times, and she was on the phone saying she was speaking to head office and all this. I doubt very much if she was. But anyway, it went on for quite a while, and he was insistent. He told us, yes, that was the one. So he wanted to sell it to us, or they needed to tell us. But she wanted him to tell us, no, we couldn't have it. Anyway, this went on for a long time. And in the end, the bottom line was, he said we could have it, but we had to have this one display one. There's no more. It is the wrong price. It's the wrong item. And because it's says it, we can have it, but we have to have this one. There are no more. There are no more. And I said to Mike, well, that's exactly what I thought. It was the last one. There are no more. I'm happy with that. Anyway, he said, I'll meet you. Mike thought he said round the back. I wasn't listening. I was in my own little world there thinking about all the conversation that I'd heard. So we go round the back where you do pickups. And when Mike went round to collect it, he was kept waiting for a long time. They said no. Oh, he said go and pay first at the till and take this card with you, which told me it was the right one because it's got the barcode on. So we paid for it. Then we went round the back to pick it up. And round the back they said no, you can't pick it up because you would have been given a collection number. And we said, well, we just paid, explained the story. He said, we can't release anything this side in the pickups if you don't have a collection ticket. I might say, I'm not going all the way around there. And in the end, I think the guy came out because I was still in the car. And eventually, it took a long time, but a guy came out and they started bringing all this out. There was a security man round the back. And I must say, whoever you are, you were so helpful and so kind to us. Because in the end, they finally brought all this out. And I said to Mike, it fit in the car. Now, it would have fitted in the car, apart from to get in our car, it's quite rounded. If it was square, things would go in. But it's trying to get it in this rounded bit. And I don't know if you can tell, but the backs of these chairs, the legs are quite angled and kind of go out to a point, so he couldn't get it in. So you know Mike, he's an engineer, he's got tools on him all the time, and he said no problem, I'll unscrew them all, take them apart and put them in. Well, you should see what they're put together with. They're not the correct screws or bolts, they're a mismatch, some don't fit, some have got the heads broken off, and as Mike said, I would never buy anything from there again that was already made. And he's gone through, there are so many different types of screws and bolts, some have got nuts missing, some don't have any screws or anything in at all. It's a real mismatch. So Mike said, oh, I can get them off, and he couldn't. As I say, some were broken, some had lost the heads, and he was having so much trouble. The security man was trying to help Mike, and then every now and then when we got a little bit apart, because some of it won't come apart because it's all broken, the bolts, they're in, but you can never get them out again because they're the wrong type, they've been forced in. So every time they did get a bit together, he couldn't do the table at all. Every time he got a bit taken apart, both of them tried to fit in what they could in. And it went on for, we were there I think 2 hours in this pickup area trying to deal with it and trying to see what we could do. Well, the guy said, hold on a minute, and he went away, the security man. He came back, he had a big flat pack box. He said, this is the same one, why aren't you taking that? So we got it in the car, the flat pack fitted in beautifully. We knew then hopefully all the screws would be correct in there. A guy came out, you can't take that one. You said you would buy the display one. And we said, well, the display one, we thought that was the only one. He said, if you buy the one in the box, you've got to pay the full price, which is, I think that was $129. I think it was that. He said it's the real price, because it's a mistake, the price on there. So you've got to pay the real sale price, which is $129. And Mike said, no, I'm not doing that. He had half of it apart at this point. So I said, why can't we have that if it's on sale? He said, no, the sale price is $129. Well, long story short, in the end, we got it apart as much as we could. We got it home. When we got home, I said to Mike, go and look at their sale leaflet. Online, you can look at a lot of stores, their sale leaflets. He looked on there. Original price, $129. Sale price, €79, whatever. And we know they had two. I'm just a little bit angry with myself that I didn't think to say, can I see your sale leaflet in your shop? If we'd have seen that, we would have seen it. We knew they had the second one because the security guard knew there was another one boxed, and we could have got it for €79, whatever, and it would have been boxed. Hopefully the screws were right. But as Mike said, what's the betting? You would have got that home and all the screws were missing. But at least Mike could have got the right bolts. But yeah, so that is the long story of how we got this. We could have had a new one. There are a few little bits, as I say, the bolts are an issue. There's a tiny little mark on a couple of bits on it, but hey, that was 2 hours. And that was the day I had to go to the hospital, and we went out in the morning, as you've seen, the shopping ones, the little bits we did in town. We went out for the day, we had lunch out, and then we went to this Superhome store, and we had time to kill because we had lunch obviously at lunchtime, and then we had time to kill. In a way, spending this 2 hours, sorted out all this furniture, that killed the 2 hours. When we got to the hospital, we were right on time. Meant to be. Tell me your comments below about what you think about this story. So that's the end of my story. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you all again soon. Until next time, as always, Meraki.